Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Teman-teman, kembali lagi di channel YouTube saya, Khairun Imam. Gimana nih kabar kalian? Semoga kita semua selalu diberi kesehatan, kemudahan, dan juga limpahan rezeki dari Yang Maha Kuasa, teman-teman ya. Nah, di video kali ini kita akan melihat bagaimana Prof. Mahfud MD, salah satu anggota Komite Tim Reformasi Polri bentukan Presiden Prabowo Subianto, membungkam omon-omon dari Roy Suryo, Rismon, Tifa, dan juga Rizal Fadila yang datang tak diundang di rapat reformasi Polri bersama dengan Refli Harun. Dan konon kabarnya Refli Harun ngibulin Roy Suryo CS. Waduh, dikibulin kawan sendiri nih ya. Nah, selain itu teman-teman, saya dapat informasi bahwa Ibu Megawati kayaknya sih rada-rada kesel gitu sama Presiden Prabowo. Kira-kira kenapa ya? Apakah mengenai pencopotan Budi Gunawan? Ataukah mengenai hal lain? Nah, nanti kita simak videonya. Tapi yang terpenting, kita akan mendengarkan, menyimak wawancara dari Presiden ke-7 Republik Indonesia, Bapak Joko Widodo, dengan media asing, serta pidato Pak Jokowi di Forum Ekonomi Dunia Bloomberg. Karena kan selama ini gerombolan pembenci selalu mengatakan Pak Jokowi tidak bisa berbahasa Inggris, omon-omon, we walk the talk. Nah, itu tuduhan-tuduhan yang selama ini dilontarkan terhadap Pak Jokowi. Nah, hari ini Pak Jokowi membungkam mulut-mulut mereka yang sangat jahat, yang sangat mungkin beracun teman-teman. Tapi sebelum kita mulai videonya, jangan lupa like, subscribe, dan share. Dan tanpa perlu berlama-lama lagi, mari kita mulai videonya berikut ini.
Yang kasus Roy Suryo ini, pertama secara administratif, malamnya itu sudah diberitahu bahwa kalau orang sedang menjadi tersangka tidak usah datang karena ini bukan menyelesaikan kasus.
Oke.
Tapi tidak diberitahu oleh Mas Refli kepada
Roy Suryo.
Kepada Roy Suryo sampai datang 4 orang itu mereka datang gitu. Padahal udah diberitahu. Kata Mas Refli kan ya memang tidak saya beritahu karena Pak Jimli kan baik hati.
Iya. Jadi awal dari mispersepsi aja awalnya mungkin Prof ya.
Iya, lalu oleh Pak Jimli mohon yang di depan ini duduk di belakang aja kalau mau datang gitu.
Mendengar lah ya.
Ya mendengar gitu. Tapi mereka memilih minta di luar walk out lah, walk out yang 4 sebenarnya kan yang diminta keluar itu atau duduk di belakang. Yaitu Roy Suryo, Tifa, Rismon, dan Pak Fadilah, Rizal Fadilah. Mereka minta keluar sesudah ngasihkan buku itu, lalu yang mendampingi minta keluar juga. Ada Mas Edi Mulyadi,
Pak Rajasa,
Refli Rajasa belum masuk, belum datang. Said Didu belum datang juga ketika insiden itu terjadi. Ya sudah, kita berjalan lancar. Jadi kita tetap Darmawan menunggu masukan dari masyarakat, tapi minta solusinya. Kalau masalah kasus-kasus gitu, tempatnya bukan di tim reformasi, itu langsung ke polisi aja.
Kalau melihat pencopotan Budi Gunawan, mungkin saya tahulah itu betapa sakitnya Ibu Mega. Ya, walaupun orang-orang PDI mengatakan Budi Gunawan bukan kader PDI. Ya, saya dari dulu saya lihat kalau rapat-rapat PDIP selalu ikut kok dia dan diajak, dan dia merupakan favorit dari Ibu Mega. Pokoknya yang lain nggak usah asal Budi Gunawan gitu loh. Hubungan Ibu Mega dengan BG jauh lebih erat ketimbang Ibu Mega dengan Hasto. Kalau Hasto kan dianggap pegawai partai aja kan. Kenyataannya terakhir kinerjanya Pak Budi Gunawan kan dia selama ada kerusuhan dia muted kan. Pada waktu itu BG ya airplane mode. Nah, dalam situasi genting begitu saya dengar BG juga sedang sakit, tidak sehat. Jadi judgement Pak Prabowo untuk mengganti saya kira berdasarkan kebutuhan lah, ya, dan kondisinya Pak Budi Gunawan. Tapi mungkin dari pandangannya Ibu Mega bisa berbeda.
POV-nya Bu Mega melihat pemecatan Budi Gunawan apa Pak? Kalau Bapak yang kenal lama Bu Mega ya?
Kecewa berat sih. Kecewa berat karena tidak sesuai dengan harapannya. Tapi kemarahan Ibu Mega dalam pidatonya itu menggambarkan bahwa dia kecewa gitu dengan Pak Prabowo.
It is our responsibility. It is a government responsibility to ensure the young generation, the student, also the people understand about AI. So we must prepare, we must introduce, we must train them to the young generation, to people, to the student, to know about AI, to understand about AI, to know about coding, algorithm, machine learning. They must know about that. And then they will have a good digital literacy and skills. After that, and then the job opportunities will be coming.
There's a lot of worry that AI and automation will actually take away jobs. Do you believe these job opportunities will disappear, or will they re-emerge, but in a different form?
No. No, like I told you that as long as we prepare, we introduce, we train them to know about AI, to know about algorithm coding and machine learning. If they know about that, I'm sure that the job will be coming.
If Indonesia thrives in this intelligence economy, tell us your vision of what Indonesia will look like, say, 10 years, 20 years from now.
I believe that in the next 5 to 15 years from now, there will be a big humanoid robotic revolution. There will be a big AI revolution. So we must prepare from now, and Indonesia also prepare our human resources, our students. Next year, the government already gave instruction to the school, from the elementary school, the junior high school, senior high school, to start with lessons about coding.
And you believe that Indonesia has a positive contribution to be made in this new intelligence economy?
It's not easy, but if not, they will be left behind. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to speak before you today. When I look back at Indonesia's journey over the past decade, I see one clear lesson. Change is never easy, but change is necessary. When I first became president, I had a simple question: how can we build a strong economy for 280 million people? We knew there were no shortcuts. That is why we focus on the basics: building roads, seaport, airport, power plant, and digital networks. Because without strong infrastructure, an economy cannot grow. And Indonesia has also made a great progress in digital infrastructure, building data centers, launching new satellites, expanding digital network, and improving connectivity across the nation. We introduced regulations that encourage local businesses and startups to grow. And today, we have strong reason why building infrastructure and introducing regulation are very important before moving into the intelligent economy. First, it is because infrastructure provides the foundation for connectivity, data flow, and technological integration. It is the best backbone that makes the intelligent economy run. And second, with the right regulations, this ecosystem can grow stronger and faster, allowing innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship to thrive together. This is how new opportunities were born. Indonesian startups like Gojek, Tokopedia, HelloDoc, Traveloka grow because the ecosystem supports them to grow. Kris Indonesia makes digital payment easy and universal. Today, a street vendor in small village uses the same system as a big company does in Jakarta. And these days, Indonesia is also learning how to make better use data, technology, and resources through downstream initiative and the EV battery sector. This is a step in the direction of an intelligent economy. On the other hand, we ensure that our young people and our SMEs are trained with the digital and data skill to thrive. And we also ensure that this growth is sustainable for our people and our planet. One more thing, Indonesia is a part of the global supply chains for electric vehicle batteries. For us, this is not only about economics. It's about building strong foundation for the future. These stories show one important thing. When the government builds the right foundations, innovation will follow. With all these efforts, together they form the ecosystem and foundation of Indonesia's new economy. And with this strong base, we are ready for the next stage, the intelligent economy. The intelligent economy is built on how well we use data and information, because data and information is not just power, it is capital. It is the new word that defines competitiveness and national strength. We know this is a process to collect, to analyze, and to appraise data and information to make the best decision and also to make a good policy. And for young generation, it is our responsibility to ensure they must understand AI and they study AI because the future is there. It is also time for us to redesign how human and machines build the future together from data and machine learning. The intelligent economy is not only about technology, it is about preparing people. Then, the other big question may arise in our mind. Will job opportunities disappear in the era of intelligent economy? No. The answer is no. I really disagree that job opportunities will disappear. In fact, I believe that there will be more jobs and more opportunities to come if we make sure our people are ready for them. We must ensure that they know and they study AI, coding, algorithm, and also about machine learning. This is something fundamental. We must introduce, we must prepare, we must train them to get good digital literacy and skills. That is why this is not only Indonesia's story, it is also the story of Southeast Asia. Across the region, millions of young people are building startups. Millions of small businesses are moving online. New unicorns are emerging. Southeast Asia is no longer just a market. It is becoming a global force. The next unicorn may not come from Silicon Valley or Shenzhen. It may come from Jakarta, Singapore, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Manila, or Hanoi. On the other hand, by applying the intelligent economy, we should redefine our system. We should redefine our process. We should redefine our strategy to get better income, to get better economic growth, to get better life for the people. For me, this is not only a national responsibility, it is also a call to international institutions like the IMF and World Bank. They should redefine their financial instrument, their financial system, and their digital infrastructure. And for the WTO, they should redefine their trade system, and they also should redefine their tariff system. In my opinion, we will redefine almost in all sectors, but it can be from education and then health at first. We must redefine the process, the system, and the strategy so we can grow better and faster. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia's journey shows that transformation needs courage, persistence, and belief. We are not finished. We are still building. With strong foundation, innovation, and global collaboration, Indonesia and South Asia will continue to grow in this new era. In this new era of economy, cooperation and collaboration are the key to run intelligent economy. And I believe that in this new economy, the intelligent economy, nations, companies, and societies that can integrate intelligence into governance, industries, and social system will grow better and faster. And I also believe that in the next 5 to 10 years, to 15 years, there will be a big humanoid robotic revolution. And there will be a big AI revolution. So, beware of this. Thank you.
Nah, itulah tadi teman-teman beberapa video yang bisa kita simak, yang bisa kita saksikan pada kesempatan kali ini. Dan gimana menurut kalian pernyataan dari Prof. Mahfud MD mengenai walkout-nya Roy Suryo CS yang ternyata mereka tidak diundang, Refli Harun tidak ngabarin mereka kalau Roy Suryo CS tidak diundang. Waduh. Ya, seperti yang saya bilang tadi, dikibulin kawan sendiri teman-teman. Dan bagaimana Ibu Megawati rupanya rada-rada kesel gitu ya kan dengan pencopotan Budi Gunawan dan juga kader-kadernya yang lain, orang-orang PDIP, perpanjangan tangan PDIP juga pada dicopot-copotin teman-teman. Aduh, itulah makanya jangan natskal. Waduh, natskal nggak tuh? Tapi gimana menurut kalian teman-teman? Tadi pidato yang sangat luar biasa dari Presiden ke-7 Republik Indonesia Bapak Joko Widodo dan juga wawancara Pak Jokowi dengan media asing. Ya, kalau saya melihat bahasa Inggris beliau memang sangat luar biasa teman-teman. Paten gitu, paten. Daripada Tifa, our undang-undang. Dengan percaya dirinya ya kan, our undang-undang. Dan selama ini Pak Jokowi selalu dikata-katain, direndahkan. We walk the talk, talk the talk. Nah itu suara-suara sumbang dari Roy Suryo begitu tuh. Suara-suara sumbang Tifa ya kan. Itu senjata mereka kalau mau menjatuhkan bahasa Inggris Pak Jokowi. Tapi gimana kabar? Gimana kabar Anies kalian? Udah jadi sekjen PBB belum? Udah jadi sekjen PBB belum? Gimana nih? Kok Pak Jokowi yang duluan bersinar gitu? Bukan duluan bersinar, tapi tetap bersinar dan selalu bersinar, teman-teman. Anies makin tenggelam aja ya kan? Aduh, rupanya tukang ramal-ramal ini nggak ada gunanya ya. Karena dulu Tifa ini ngaku sebagai tukang ramal, jago ramal. Aduh, tapi udahlah, kalian hidup di bui aja lah. Hidup di bui menyiksa diri. Nanti kita tunggu Tifa nyanyi begitu ya. Oke teman-teman, mungkin cukup sekian dulu video kali ini. Jangan lupa like, subscribe, dan share videonya. Akhir kata, billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.